As you enter the final room of the dungeon, the smell of rotting flesh and gore mix with the natural musk of the dungeon. You hear the sounds of bones crunching and the swallows of a foul creature from across the room. A large green ball of flesh floats just feet off the ground, its large, piercing yellow eye meeting your gaze from across the room as you watch the blood and ichor drip from its toothy maw. Two eye stalks on each side of the body come forth, meeting your gaze as well from across the room. The creature licks its lips clean, and you begin to hear a foul voice within your mind. Ah, my next meal has arrived. What's going on, my fellow Dungeoneers? My name is Brent, and this is For the XP, a YouTube channel dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming alike. And this marks the first episode of a little series I'm going to do about spotlighting monsters and creatures that are less known in the D&D universe and less used by DMs than I think they should be. If you listened to the description before at the beginning of the video, you might have thought it might have been one of those bad boys back there, but you would be partially correct. More on the wrong side of things. They are called baby beholders. They could be called mini beholders. They could be called beholder kin, but in more official ways, they are called spectators. And what they basically are, or uh, the constructs of a leftover beholder, which are created magically through a ritual by gathering 4 eye stalks of a beholder that was slain and summoned by a creature or a summoner of any type to be of service of said creature for 101 years, and then it's free to do what it wants to do. Now, why I think you should consider this creature for your campaign or just as a random encounter experience in your dungeon is that there is a bit of shock value to this creature, especially with newer players who have played a little bit of D&D and they know what a beholder is, but they don't know what a spectator is. When you begin to describe that creature, they're going to immediately think it's a beholder. I know when I used it, my players thought so as well. They thought I was throwing a beholder at them when they were only level 3, which I wouldn't do that, but the scare factor definitely sparked a bit of interest for that creature for me. I didn't think much of it when I was going to use it. I just saw it and I was like, that is an amazing creature. I want to use it because I love the hell out of beholders almost as much as I love mimics. But I digress. The shock value of this creature is definitely there. You could definitely surprise your party early on in the campaign by throwing a spectator at him, possibly tricking him to thinking it is a beholder through your descriptors. Now, another reason to introduce this creature in your campaigns is that they're not your average final boss at a low-level dungeon. It doesn't necessarily have to be a final boss. It could be a mini-boss, but it's not your average one that you would expect, like maybe an orc or a kobold in a dungeon. And we all know that that trope kind of gets old after a while. Now, you could still have orcs and kobolds within your dungeon, but they could be more like cannon fodder instead of the actual final boss where you're fighting an orc chieftain or a kobold chieftain. Uh, the spectator holds a lot of similar abilities to a beholder, but it's not as effective. It doesn't have its magic elimination eyeball. It still has the giant eye, but it doesn't do the magic nullifying effect that the beholder's eye does. It's still you still have eye rays with its 4 stalks on the side. You have a let's see, a confusion ray, a paralyzing ray, a fear ray, and a wounding ray. So there is a bit of a damage spell within there, but there's a lot of battlefield control with this creature. It does fly, so you can like raise it above the ground and get it out of the way of those melee creatures because it does not have a whole lot of hit points. But this creature alone probably wouldn't last too long, especially with a larger party. So you would probably want to have a little bit of cannon fodder within those, maybe servitude, being service to them, or perhaps anything like that. But they also have this special ability called Spell Reflection, which allows them, like if they make their save or the target misses a spell attack, they could use its Spell Reflection to redirect that spell against a random target that's part of perhaps the PC's party or perhaps one of the other cannon fodder creatures, so it doesn't take the damage itself. Personality-wise, these creatures hold a lot of similarities with beholders. They do have very high opinions of themselves. They believe that they are the epitome of their race. They believe they're the best of the best. And if you had 2 spectators in one dungeon in the same room, they'll probably clash and fight each other to the death because they're stubborn that way. But besides that, if the party actually runs into these things and it doesn't go immediately into a combat, these types of creatures actually do a bit of conversation with them. They're more reserved because their whole point of existence is to guard whatever they are guarding or protecting, considering perhaps if they're still in service to their former master who may have passed away, but they are locked into a contract for 101 years. So if you get there before that 101 years is up, they'll still guard you. They'll guard their whatever they were assigned to guard, and they'll probably initially try to deter the party away because they're not actual evil creatures as far as what the chart says. They're actually lawful neutral. And now there's a whole, and as a creature, there is a little bit of like there is a little bit of hard to say about why wouldn't this creature attack right out when they know that they're being invaded. But because this is an intelligent creature and they communicate telepathically and they're able to talk to the PCs, you may want to consider actually maybe having a vocal encounter with this creature before combat actually starts. Now, we all know murder hobos out there will stop that conversation short and slay the creature as fast as possible. That there is that possibility. In conclusion, a spectator is a pretty cool creature in my opinion. I think it's a very underutilized creature, but I think that's also because not a lot of people know about spectators. I've asked a lot of old DMs back in the 3.5 days, and a lot of them didn't realize what a spectator was. So I don't know if they were listed the same way in previous monster manuals in Dungeons and Dragons, but in 5e they're specifically listed as spectators. But whenever I actually described the creature and showed them the picture, they're like, oh yeah, those are beholderkin. So they may have been listed differently. So if you're an older DM or an older player, that's exactly what they are, as I described in the beginning of this video. But like I said as before, these creatures can be used a lot for shock value more than anything. They're not very hardy creatures, but they have a lot of potential to do a lot of battlefield control if you have a lot of cannon fodder in front of it, preventing the more meteor PCs from reaching the body of this creature. And it could provide just a lot of fun and a lot of something a little bit different for a final boss of a lower level dungeon. As always, I'd like to thank everybody for giving this channel a chance and give this video a watch. If you enjoyed the content, hit that like button, and if you really enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button for more future content coming from me. As always, no matter what you do in life, do it for the XP. Have a good day.